in it's September 24th, 2025. I call Park in order. Virginia law authorizes the remote participation of board members, provided that a policy exists to ensure that such remote participation is consistently administered. This board has approved policy number 11. Any such remote attendance must be approved by the board as long as the physical form of the board is actually present. Voices of the remote participants are able to be heard by everyone in the room, and the remote participation policy. Step 1, verify that the remote participant's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for the meeting room, and a confirmation of their location. Mike, are you connected to this meeting remotely?
I am indeed. I am connected from Dallas, Texas.
Thank you, sir. Move that Mr. Thompson's voice may be adequately heard from his location.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then our second motion is pursuant to the Park Authority's Policy 111 for remote participation in public meetings. I move that Mr. Thompson be permitted to participate remotely in this meeting because it comports with the policy we adopted in physical form as present here at the hearing building in 106/107.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries, and we can go into our agenda. And the first thing is Park Operations Committee. Linwood.
I'm Linwood Gorman, one called the Park Operations Committee order. I'm going to turn it right over to Kim.
Thanks, Linwood. Good evening, everyone. Kim Eckert, Division Director, Park Operations Division. So we will be reviewing a couple things this afternoon, or excuse me, this evening. One is a Maston Brook grant proposal for your consideration, and then we'll start off with the Park Operations Project report. So just as a reminder, these are park improvements completed by the Park Operations Division. This is for the Q3 and Q4, so January through June 2025. Slide. So we did something a little different this time. We added a county-wide section in addition to all the district slides. One of the reasons we did that, we know that things haven't been as positive with some of the non-recommended budget reductions. And so we did want to show you some of the results from the funding that we accomplished in FY25 for maintenance. Right. So countywide, we did some park infrastructure upgrades. So we replaced goal replacements at our basketball courts at 10 of the following sites in the following districts. I won't list them, but we certainly are trying to use our condition assessments as well as allocate our funding equitably across the county. So you have 10 sites there, 10 different districts. This was funded by the General County Construction Fund. The cost was $110,000, completed June 2025, and the project manager was Marcos Suarez. Next slide. Again, this is countywide at 12 different sites, 12 different districts, or all the different districts there. They are dugout replacements. This was funded by the County Construction Fund, a combination of proffer funding and the County Construction Fund. Total cost was just under $187,000, completed June 2025. And again, the project manager was Marcos Suarez. Next slide. The zero waste upgrade for phase 1 is completed. So that covers 67 sites in the Braddock, Mason, Providence, Springfield, and Sully districts. We installed new trash compactor for zero waste, as well as all of the infrastructure associated with that compactor in areas 2 and 5. So we added some electrical, constructed some concrete pads, added new fencing. We also painted and installed all the new recycling cans in those areas, as well as procured 2 trucks to support the operation. This was funded by the zero waste funding in FY25. The cost was just under $490,000, including the trucks, completed in May 2025, and the project managers were Amber Stramel and Walter Wesley. Next slide. All right.
Kim, before you go on to the district specifics, just 2 questions on that. First, I really like that you did that. It's nice to see. There was a blissful period of time when the county actually increased our maintenance dollars. Lasted like, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. Were those projects, okay, they were a direct result of that.
These are specific to that 2.1.
That incremental funding increase. Okay.
Yes.
Second question is, just to get it in my own head, in the total pie of the deferred maintenance is very, very large, but those first 2, are those the kind of things that chip away at that?
the park infrastructure upgrades. So
Yeah.
this year you'll see more things like fencing, benches, picnic tables, throughout the county. So you'll see all kinds of different splash that will actually show results.
Okay, and those are all examples. Big
Right.
pile of deferred maintenance.
Correct. So, just to point out, some of that 2.1 is forestry.
Okay.
890,000 of it is forestry. So, even though it's not on these slides, we certainly have improved our response time and we've cut it in half, basically. So it used to be 3 weeks, now it's 1.5, 2 weeks, and are able to address a lot more high priority, high risk trees.
Thank you.
Next slide. All right, in the Braddock District. So we completed some mini golf renovations at Lake Accotink Park. We replaced the carpet on all 9 holes, added various colors and pile heights to simulate sand, water, and rough to increase the appeal and challenge of the course. And the new carpeting obviously enhances the playability and aesthetics. This was funded by the Revenue Sinking Fund, just under $10,000, completed in May 2025, and the project manager was Russ Davis. Bye. We completed an athletic court overlay at Canterbury Woods, full basketball court overlay, regraded surface and added new asphalt, installed new goals, also color coded it in line with the new court. Funded by the County Construction Fund, total cost $42,000, completed in June. The project manager was Marco Suarez. At Rutherford Park, we completed an athletic field renovation. This renovation included the diamond field, complete renovation of that, replaced backstops and fencing. We installed new concrete pads for dugouts and bleachers. This was funded by a combination of proffer and sinking funds, just under $46,000, completed in March 2025, and the project manager was Mike Sines. Next slide. In the Drainsville District. So we completed some park improvements at Great Falls Grange. We replaced some playground timbers there and expanded the playground area a bit, repaired and painted all the benches, removed tree limbs at the memorial plaque, and repaired and replaced some of the fencing. This was funded by County Construction Fund. Cost was $9,200, completed in March, and the project manager was Mario Martin Alciati. At Tyson's Pimmick Park, we completed an athletic court full reconstruction. We completed the reconstruction of the basketball courts number 1 and number 2, removed the footers, installed new footers and goals, regraded the surface and added new asphalt and color coded in line both courts. This was funded by ARPA funding, just over $124,000, completed in June, and the project manager was Marco Suarez. Franconia District. At Byron Avenue Park, we completed some ADA improvements, paved the trail to batting cages, to the bleacher area from the batting cages, and now all the trails and bleacher pads are ADA compliant. This was funded by the County Construction Fund. $17,400 was the cost, completed April 2025, and the project manager was Marcos again. At Claremont Park, we replaced the backstops. Installed a 20-foot high galvanized steel chain link fence to replace all 4 backstops, extended and raised the height of the fencing to 20 feet high from the backstop dugouts to increase spectator safety. This was funded by the County Construction Fund, just under $54,000. Completed in April. The project manager was William Douglas. Next slide. At Ridgeview Park, another athletic court renovation. So we completed the basketball court overlay, regraded the surface, added new asphalt, installed new goals, and color coded in line the courts again. This was with ARPA funding, just under $43,000, completed in May, and the project manager was Marcos. At Hunter Mill District. At Franklin Oaks Park, we completed some playground improvements there. We removed and replaced the deteriorating playground timbers. We have some of those throughout our county. Installed new engineered wood fiber. This was funded by the County Construction Fund. $2,600 was the cost. This included materials and labor. Completed in February, and the project manager again was Mario. Next slide. At Lake Fairfax Water Mine, we completed some patio upgrades. So we installed 2 additional patio areas, installed new ADA concrete sidewalks and 2 ADA concrete pads, to some new grills, We installed a French drain to eliminate pooling water, and some of the drainage system was clogged. So we solved some of that erosion there too. This was funded by the sinking fund. The cost was just under $241,000, completed in June 2025, and the project manager was Marcos. Leeson District. At Green Springs Garden Park. We reconstructed the arbor there. So it was a 20-foot long arbor between the historic house and the green lawn. The work was performed in-house by one of our skilled carpenters. They'll come up again later in this presentation. Pretty cool. Funded by the County Construction Fund. The cost is just under $4,000, completed in March. The project manager was Kenny Erb, our Facilities Department. Bye. Mount Vernon District. So at Mason Neck West Park, we completed another athletic court renovation. We completed some crack repairs, resurfaced both tennis courts, color coded and lined the new courts, and added 2 sets of pickleball lines to court number 1. This was funded by the County Construction Fund. The cost was just over $36,000, completed in July, and the project manager was Marcos. Next slide. West Grove Park, we completed some dog park drainage improvements with our mobile crew. Replaced portions of the dog park, installed new drainage to reduce persistent issues with standing water and erosion. The work was performed in-house by our mobile construction crew. This was done for $4,500. This happened from donations with West Grove PAC, completed in March 2025, and the project manager was James Powers. To give you an idea, this was with a contractor with $16,500. So in-house mobile crew did it for $4,500. Fine. Providence District. At Jefferson District Park, we completed another athletic court renovation. Both tennis courts, number 2 and number 5, we completed some crack repairs, color coding, and lined the repaired areas. This was funded by the foundation, some foundation donations, including $6,000 from USTA Mid-Atlantic. And then the cost was $14,575, completed June. Project manager was Marco. At John Mastenbrook Park, we completed an amenity repair. It's the practice wall. So we repaired and painted the practice wall. We used oil-based paint. That's important. The community is interested in painting a mural there, so we needed to use the oil base. This was funded by the operating fund. The cost was just under $7,000, completed in May 2025, and the project manager again is Marcos. Next slide. In the Springfield District, at South Run District Park. So we completed a few dugout projects here. We replaced the roof of the dugout for fields number 1 and number 2. And then we installed new dugout roofs on field 3. So the difference is there were no roofs for field 3. Those are brand new. This was funded by the County Construction Fund and a combination of proffer funding, just over $40,000, completed in June, and the project manager was Mike Sines. In the Sully District, this is one of my favorites. We completed a historic restoration. So one of our skilled carpenters in-house rebuilt the historic cistern cover. The work was performed, like I said, in-house. It matched the oak wood to the existing design and size, and we used a more modern protective material underneath so that we could preserve it, but also maintain the historic appearance. This was funded by the County Construction Fund. The cost was $15,500, completed January 2025, and the project manager was Kenny Erb, and the carpenter was Jason Doyle. I think that's it. Any questions?
Questions or comments? It's good, Kim. Thank you. It's always nice to see positive things.
Thanks. All right, and so next up, we have a Mastenbrook grant proposal for your consideration from Chantilly Youth Association. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark Lord, one of our regional managers, to present that. Mark?
Good evening. My name is Mark Lord. I'm the West Region Manager with Park Operations Division. Tonight, we have a Mastenbrook grant request from the Chantilly Youth Association for a project at Chantilly Park in the Sully District. CYA has been a longtime partner in the county's Adopt a Field program and has contributed funding for many field projects over the past 2 decades. Next slide, please. Project for which CYA seeks a grant funding is a fence extension project at Field 1. The project replaces existing 4-foot fencing, taller fencing to bring the field into alignment with FCPA standards for diamond fields. Next slide, please. The project location is shown on this aerial view of Chantilly Park. As mentioned, Field 1 is the focus of this project. Next slide, please. In this view, the field boundaries are marked up in blue and red to show the CYA project area. In the outfield, the 4-foot fencing is replaced with 10-foot fencing, and the segment shown in red represents a newly installed 20-foot fencing. Also shown in green is a separate project which FCPA has already undertaken to upgrade the fencing along the backstop, wings, and dugouts. Both projects have been underway in recent weeks to take advantage of the off-season and contractor availability. Next slide, please. Here we have a simple breakdown of the grant project elements. Replace current 4-foot high outfield fencing with 10-foot high fencing. Replace 4-foot high left field fencing with 20-foot high fencing. This aligns with FCPA standard for diamond fields. Project will coincide with concurrent FCPA project to upgrade fencing along backstop, wings, and dugouts. The existing fencing is beyond the expected life cycle. This project is being managed by the Park Operations Division through the current contract with Long Fence. Next slide, please. Project benefits. It reduces the potential for balls leaving the field and damaging vehicles on adjacent road and parking lot. Allows expansion of the field use to include older age groups and wider range of competitive levels. It enhances aesthetics. While the 20-foot portion of the left field is primarily there for safety reasons, the league is considering it a green monster type feature that will kind of, add a competitive element to their
You're killing me.
field.
I was literally gonna say, man, that looks like the Green Monster. I would like them.
That's what they're saying.
They need a wall, not a fence.
Huh?
Yeah.
Right, I would give them extra if they build the wall. with the
Need a
ceiling
wall,
on
not a
top.
fence.
It also is in alignment with the FCPA project, which will result in upgrading of all the fencing around Field 1. Next slide, please. The total project cost for the grant project is $25,856. The cost breakdown is shown here on the left. As shown on the right, the project funding is proposed to be an equal split between CYA and the Mastenburg grant, if approved. Next slide, please. Although the project does not support PROSA based on the defined PROSA strategy, it does help advance other strategic priorities such as expanding opportunity for field access. Next slide, please. The fiscal impact of this grant, if approved, will be $12,928 from the 2020 Park Bond Construction Fund. The resulting balance in funding set aside for the Mastenburg Grant Program will be just over $560,000. Next slide, please. In conclusion, staff recommends approval of the Mastenburg Grant in the amount of $12,928 to the Chantilly Youth Association to help fund a project to extend the outfield fence at Chantilly Park Field 1. Next slide, please. Thank you. I would be happy to address any questions you may have.
How many foot field is it?
I'm sorry.
How big's the field? How many foot field is it?
It's a 60-foot field. So it's I think it's a little less than 200. Actually, it's a small field.
All right, because it had an odd shape, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming down the first base and third base line, it is about 200, but it's shy.
It's probably shy, definitely in left field. But the fence also kind of, it runs kind of, it's about 200, I think, out in right field and center, and then it kind of comes in this way in left field. So I think left field's a little shallow.
That's where you put.
There's this red area right here is 20-foot fencing.
Okay, and then the blue over there, right next to the red, is how tall?
10.
10. Say, at least that. The classes that you can play are pretty limited on that small field.
Yeah. And with the 20-foot fencing, it gives like some older players a little bit of an opportunity, because that fence is considered to be moved out like that when it's
I
tall.
forget the way the A's go. Is it 3A the most advanced or is the?
Major.
No, well, before majors, because that changes.
yeah, triple.
AAA, so really you can only use this field for like single and double at the most, the way it is. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Jose, it's in your district, you support this?
Yeah, I'm. This is next to the library.
Yes.
Yeah, I think right now, it's used by fairly young kids. That's really low. There's lots of parking on this side. So, I mean, in my mind, it makes a lot of sense to be able to make these upgrades now that we're at the end of the life of the fencing anyways, to be able to expand the use of it. And it's right across the street from Chantilly High School. It's a neat location.
Field gets a lot of use.
Just wondering, have we had any applications for the Massenburg grant that meet process standards?
Yes. Most.
It's really where it's an enhancement to, so it's not adding it's not adding active, it's not adding social or contemplative. Right now, that area is already an active recreational area, so it's an enhancement to an active. So it's just putting more
So it's not
things
the-
in. But it's not anti the PROSA 3 things, it's just not adding things to it. Right.
I just, the last couple,
Yes.
like the last one was in, it's also ball field, and it's also didn't meet process. I was just wondering.
I mean, it was the same kind of project, though, it's basically the maintenance.
Right.
That maintenance project is never gonna check those boxes.
Anybody else? The consensus to move this forward?
Yes.
So, we're done, right?
We are. Thank you, everyone.
No other business in the Park Operations Committee.
Thanks, Amy.
We are in recess until. Yep, another 8 minutes. Nothing so good.
Oh, really?
All right, it is 6:40, so we are.
We're not.
I can act when I call it, but she doesn't even.
Welcome. Good evening, Josh Coleman, Division Director, joined by Katie Miga, the Business Development Branch Manager. We've got a couple budget items tonight that will jump right into. You will have seen most of this before. This is us coming back for the third time going through. This is the official push forward tonight on the budget information that you previous to.
Okay, so just updating on the schedule. So this is the last meeting for the FY27 budget reductions and requests. So the first is an action item on the general fund budget reductions. So as we said before, DMD have asked us to put forward 5% of our budget in reduction. So that's 1.8 million that we have to put forward. And as in previous years, the reductions are not. So first, we're going to run through the public comment that we just went through for about the last month. So there were 72 emails starting August 28th, so after we first introduced the budget reductions and requests, 7 speakers and 1 video received. Staff did respond to all the emails with some follow-up discussions included, and all of those comments were provided to the board for review. As far as subject, now of course there's duplication because someone wrote an email and it had multiple items in there. So there's reduction or repetition in the subject. So the top, no surprise, the top comment was around the parking fees. So Riverbend had the most comments. And then of course, Burke Lake had some comments about it as well. Maintenance and mowing was also a topic in the comments. So there were 13 of those, and then 4 comments around the position reductions, and then 1 each comment for Hidden Oaks, Huntley Meadows, Lake Fairfax, and Scottsfront.
I believe everyone was provided the updated comments earlier today with the last few that had trickled. So got everything that we've received.
Okay, so in review, this was provided in a memo that showed the budget reductions that were put forward in 25 and 26 compared to 27. So this slide shows the amount that was put forward as reductions in FY 25. You'll note if it has a number 1, it was also submitted as a reduction in 26, and a 2 if it's also in the proposed reduction list for FY 27. So there's only a couple of those. Open space mowing and athletic field mowing have been submitted at each of the 3 for reduction. And then there are a couple others that we did not put forward this year, like Porta-John trail maintenance and athletic court maintenance, which was submitted the last few years.
So this was sent, both the 25 and the 26 in the previous board item, but just a reminder basically of what was submitted the previous 2 years, like Katie's talking.
And then this is the FY 26 budget reductions that were put forward. This was 10% of our budget, which is why there's so many more on this list, because we had to come up with 3.6 million. You can see what was put forward. Again, we have the duplicates on there with the footnotes to see what we put forward multiple times. But also what was submitted to DMB, what was in the advertised budget, and then what was ultimately included in the adopted budget. And that brings us to what we have for the FY 27 non-recommended budget reductions. So this is the same list. Nothing has changed from the first time this was presented on August 27th.
So that's the end of the first action item.
So are there questions or comments about the Mike?
Yes, Chair. So I really appreciate staff's hard work on this, so not second guessing that, but just kind of re-asking for the record with the introduction of parking fees at Burke and Riverhead. Those 2 sites were analyzed as the, I don't know what the word would be, best locations for this choice compared to other sites.
So the reason why we chose those as the first phase is because Burke Lake already has a parking fee. So the infrastructure already exists. We already do non-county parking fees on weekends. So the infrastructure already exists. We already have the staffing model. Riverbend also has the infrastructure, has a kiosk in the front. It doesn't have, we've never picked up fees, but those 2 were the easiest start to that. And then we did the math to figure out using some Placer AI and other things to try to estimate how much it would cost to get to that goal. There are other ones that we talked about. They would just take a little bit of time. This is again next year's fiscal year.
And
We gotta
further
get ready for further investment to figure out how to do it.
And then, Mr. Chair, if I may, I'd really like and appreciate that we somehow figure out a way with staff to monitor if this is chosen as something by county board, monitor this and get some feedback on its success or otherwise. I think it, just responding to what I thought was really a bunch of really good comments on this aspect of the non-recommended budget. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes, I'd make the comment, reiterate my feelings about maintenance and mowing. That what I'd like to make is when you decide just not to mow an area anymore, everybody says, I think there's a term in some documentation that came out this week that return it to its natural state or something like that. When you just stop mowing something, that doesn't happen. What happens is it becomes an invasive disaster. If you want to return it to its natural and native state, that takes effort and a couple of years of planning and stuff like that. So when we decide just not to mow anything, it's an invasive disaster. And even though sometimes a mowed area is not the most ecologically good to be doing with it, when you decide not to do that, then take a deliberate effort to restore it to what it should be.
So whenever we stop these mowings, really doing a lot of harm to the environment, visual, you know, and the thing I admitted, the thing that's closest to my heart is the visual aspect of it. I don't know, stuff like that. But like a lot of our people that testified before us, which frankly are completely our allies, and I can't think of any testimony that I heard or read that I didn't agree with completely. I can't come up with an option for do more of this instead of do that. The bottom line to me is we can't take any more cuts. We need to really try not to have cuts in the future. And that's what we all already do. But I don't have suggestions to put in place of any of these cuts that I don't like, that none of us like.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Regarding the athletic field mowing there, you're presenting two options for the county. Both involve increasing the athletic services fee. Any assessment been done how the athletic services fee would increase under either of those options?
We have not gotten back from the county yet at this point, what the impact on those would be or what potential option they'd be putting up for consideration, other than we know it'd be an increase, but we haven't heard anything back yet at this point as to what that increase would look like. We don't assess that fee, so that's where we have the details of all the users.
They're aware, we're working with NCS, they're aware that this is in.
Community service.
And Neighborhood and Community Services is the entity that does the fee, schedule, the fee, identifying the fee, and working through the athletic council to do that. So they're aware that this has been put on and they're doing the math. I'm assuming that they're gonna talk about that in the athletic council at some point in time.
I assume they have some number of, X number of athletic organizations or whatever use it now and get done.
Yes.
At some point, we will hear a number.
Mike hasn't seen them.
Oh, okay, Mike.
Thank you. First, to address what was just asked, I believe that the athletic fee generated in 2025 fiscal year an estimated about $3.2 million. To make this full number, I believe would be about a 15% increase, or $1.50. I don't know if that's going to be exactly where they land, but I think based on just kind of the published numbers with the fees that we're talking about, and the fact that it's at $10 right now. So that's my kind of thumbnail quick look that I did based on the numbers that are out there. By virtue of the way that we present this material, it seems to me that we are saying that our preferred option is the $446,480 option in terms of the athletic field mowing, that we eliminate both, and that we request that the athletic fee be increased to cover it. I know that in the discussion point on the P under it says that there's option 1 and option 2, but by virtue of the way it's presented, it seems to me that kind of our approach seems to pick the one that may be just me because of the way the number matches in that. But is that our intent to express a preference for one of those options?
No, in fact, it's our intent to run away screaming from either of those options and to pick option door number 3, which is to not choose that at all. I think that part of the 446 is leaving it up to, we specifically didn't give an option because it's really not it's not my call to determine how much the fees are increased. So theoretically speaking, this 446 is coming from my requested from the county executive to find 5% of our budget at $1.8 million. Whether or not they choose to, there's 3 options here. Do they take that cut of 446? And then how do they recoup the dollar amount for that? They can just take the cut and And we put in there that the reduced mowing would be about a half. So if they don't increase fees, we would reduce probably about half of the mowing, which I think in the slide had the impact to the mowing thing. Option number 2 is to recoup the 446 or a smaller number. I want to put that out there. I'm trying to, or a smaller number, or whatever they want to debate and talk about. I would imagine the question would come in about how much would be for how much increased fees. Like what would I save if we increase fees by X? How much would I save if I increase fees by Y? That would likely be during a Q&A during the budget process. But no, we do not have a preference in any way, shape, or form because that's not sort of my side of the thing. Again, non-recommended.
Well, do we even need to be, should we be as prescriptive in the language as we are? Should we spell out in the narrative language, which I assume is the same thing you're gonna send over to the county.
It will really be more reflected like this, what you see on the screen here of cover the athletic service fee with
Okay,
options
so
for
the
how.
narrative in the,
We simply were trying to present previously an example of what an option might be for consideration, but sorry, go ahead.
well, it's just. Well, what we're doing is ultimately for county DMV. It is a public document. So the words that we have in there do matter to some extent in what they convey. So when we ultimately move this forward by the end of the day and the final version of this gets posted tomorrow online, we might want to think about maybe pulling option 1 and option 2 language out of there and keep something a bit more general. Say something effective is ultimately the decision of the county, however it needs to be phrased, to decide how that cut is ultimately implemented.
Well, yes, but we don't want to say the option of 446 is the entire thing. So they take it out and they don't go with the option
Yeah,
and
then
we're
you're
not
not mowing,
making,
yeah.
right. And so that's kind of how we're splitting it up. 'Cause we didn't want to put that option, obviously didn't want to put that option out there. So that's why we have half of it for mowing. So if they pick door number 1, everybody needs to understand what that means to maintenance. So we take
Sure,
the
but
non-
there's a million iterations of doors, depending upon the percent that they take out of either pot. So that's, but when you give it a binary choice, you're putting in the minds of everyone looking at this, that it's either gonna be this or it's gonna be that.
Can we, I think they were saying the same thing. Can we, Mike, I'm about to ask you if you can hear me. Could you look at the wording and maybe Kyle too? And if you were to edit that one thing to sort of get to what we're going, could you send that an option over to us?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I mean, I just, when it says 2 options are up for consideration, I just think it becomes very limiting to kind of the 2 choices. And I am concerned. I'm concerned about the direction, but I will work on something right after this meeting and send it to you. But I also want to say that I understand that we don't want these cuts, but we are also saying to the county, if you're going to take $1.8 million, here's how you should take it. So we are saying, we may have recommended stuff in the past and we kind of looked at some of those. We're saying, if you take money this time, which we really, really, really wish you wouldn't, but if you're going to cut our budget, this is how we think you should cut it. And so I just think that informs how the public will look at it, but also how the supervisors will look at it. So I think all of the, I mean, I know this is a recommendation of the things we don't want to recommend technically, but I do think they'll look at it. And you said, at least as I understood it before, that we have to assume they take it all.
Yeah, and I think that when we're talking to the athletic community, I think the point that when we were originally put it on there, when we were in talks with across the street and everybody in general, was the half, right? The 226 and the cut, reduced athletic field mowing, the same cut that we had for last year. And so part of the thing was, we think that it might be a better option if the athletic community would agree. Which one do we want? Do we want to reduce the mowing, or would you rather increase your fees $2, $3 and not have the increased mowing? I think that that's a conversation to be had, but we also didn't want to put that into not into people's mouths, but that's really the options that were out there. That's the conversation to be had.
Yeah, which I get. And I think the other thing I would just strongly recommend, I know that there's And again, I apologize for not remembering if it's friend of a field or adopt a field because the schools have one, y'all have one. But we also mow we mow the school fields. I think the next few months is a good opportunity to reach out to or groups and see if they will engage in helping us on the mowing side of this. And at the same time we're doing that, that would help them understand that maybe they should engage in the budget process to be supportive of not wanting to do this cut.
We can do that. Can we, when you, get back from, Aruba or wherever it is that you're currently residing, maybe we can get together and chat?
I'm happy to, and Dallas ain't Aruba, but yes.
So obviously, we are doing this at the, putting forward these reductions at the request of the county executive, but also under duress. We have been told that they are likely all to appear in the advertised budget, but we also hope that that is not the case and that some of these won't appear there, and B, that the Board of Supervisors in their public hearings and markups will decide if they are taken to restore manual. So that's the position in which we find ourselves. I would like to agree with all that's been said here, and in particular, I wanted to supplement Mike Reynolds' comments because of the number of public comments we received, particularly on the Riverwood parking piece. I would hope, like he, that we would take a look at how those are being implemented. By the way, if this does remain in the final adopted budget of the Board of Supervisors, this would go into effect presumably July 1st of 2026 or thereafter, not before then. Secondly, is I would hope that we would monitor and see how it's going, see how the collections are running. Again, we used a very conservative model. I think it was 50% of our historical vehicle count in terms of calculating these numbers. But if there's a way to streamline it, for example, annual passes or stickers that could go on the cars to make it work better, or there were suggestions of putting some sort of signage, whether electronic or mechanical, at the corner of Riverbend Road and Jeffrey Road when the park was full, so people wouldn't inadvertently head down there and get into a long line when they didn't expect to see one. So I think there are things that can be done on the implementation and operational side to make this run more smoothly. And I would hope that would be factored into this. Any other comments on this particular non-recommended budget reduction item? Is there, yes?
Yeah, more general big picture things. So we've now gone through this exercise in 3 consecutive years. Everything we've said since August is we assume we're going to be here again next year. So for all intents and purposes, fiscal year 27 is done. We're moving on, and now we're thinking we have to start thinking about 28. And what I don't want to be is in a position where, I mean, I'm sure staff will be thinking about it throughout the year, but I don't want to be in a position where the board doesn't start thinking about it and having these discussions until August of next year. So if we could do, choose your terminology for this, a budget education exercise, for lack of a better phrase, where maybe you guys come back and break down pieces of this so we can really start to dive into certain areas where we think, whether it's operationally, how we do things, what we do. Here with Linwood, like I can feel him bearing down on me. Like we shouldn't be doing that at all. There's what we want to do, and then there's being prepared for what is likely to come. And I don't want to be in a position where the best we can kind of come up with on short notice is closing things. Like I'm very scared that is the direction we're headed to in another 12 months. So I want to try to avoid that to the best of our ability. I don't know what that looks like, Josh. Think about how we do that sort of thing. But I do think we need to start basically now thinking about what 2028 looks like.
I mean, yes, I completely agree. I think that it's gonna go yes. I think the reality is it's gonna be a very hard conversation with its maintenance, its people, or we're closing facilities. And so getting to that point where everybody understands where we are, so that there's no thought that we're hiding this like
Right.
this other thing someplace that we actually could use, I think would be useful, so that when we get there, we can jump right to the really hard decisions and be telling people at the very beginning sort of what that means for the parks system.
That's interesting, because you kind of just tied it all together. I was gonna say to you, yes, we need to be prepared. We don't want to appear like this is okay.
Sure.
So as long as we go down
Yep.
this other track that I keep pushing, promoting
Yes.
appreciation.
You'll have to
that
walk
kind
and
of
chew
stuff,
gum and-
which is
Sponge is
completely-
dry, it's dry.
Complete-
We're gonna do it as much as we can.
It completely ties in with what you just said.
Mhm.
As we study these little specific, the things we get down to the micro level and stuff like that, that will help us with the track that I'm trying to promote right now too. So at
Yes.
first I was gonna say, oh, but we need to go down this other track. Really, they're all related.
Yep.
And we need to keep them.
Yep.
Related and relevant.
And in that same vein as on the revenue side, and that's weird to say when it's general fund related, but that we've had during my time on the board, the idea of sponsorships have bubbled up and bubbled back down several times. I think that's something that needs to come back again, and we need to decide what we're doing. And the answer is not going to be if we don't pursue them, or if we are going to pursue them, what that looks like, what the parameters of that, what we would charge for certain things, because we need to start having additional funds. And some of this is foundation related. I don't know how much of it is truly our staff, but there's two pieces of this. We need to think very strategically about future cuts, but we need to start thinking about additional revenue sources as well. So both of those things I'd like to see like some inserted and directed discussions moved. And basically, I don't literally mean next meeting, but starting with the next meeting forward.
Well, I think is it the next meeting? I think the next meeting,
Yeah.
the next one, two times ago, is when we start having conversations with the foundation. So that might be a good segue into that, not to have the answers, because
Sure.
just to start the conversation there. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big question everywhere is how, like, as we're going backwards in funding, because that's where we are, how do we go forward in, bringing in money from alternatives,
Yeah, as a new member, you just mentioned that there's been talks about sponsorships and it's, talking about athletic fields and all this came to mind. It would be, just to underline what Chairman Snow said, was that it would be really helpful for at least myself to get an education on kind of what the discussions have been before about additional revenue sources. And then also understanding, what other park authorities do from that regard of like collecting additional funds, just to kind of help the board in our minds have an idea of like, what do these alternative revenue sources look like? And to help us kind of think through that as an option.
I think asking that question, that won't be the next two, but I think coming back and just talk, special part, it runs the complete gambit, right? And talking about all of the different things from Bryant Park to, the Central Park to other entities as to how that's done. I think that there's, conversations about the county that we are and be having the Fortune 500 companies that we have that's different than a Kansas or a Louisiana or other places, to try to see what is possible in general, and then what we want to, it's really hard to fund staff with donating dollars. We don't know if it's gonna come unless it's an endowment, all the time.
Sure.
So how do we split? I think that's opening up a lot of conversations, but we should start to have about that, especially since we're going down the other route, which is the funding,
Just thinking about something that we talked about when I started on the board, which is it would be really useful to know what areas that what things we do that make the most money. Because of course, those are the things that are going to be probably the most profitable in terms of the least cost and greatest profit. And of course, I mean, I think, and then the other factor, which is really important in this conversation, is balancing our government objectives versus the, sort of business objectives, running your business. And that's gotta be part of, because we don't want to get, I mean, it's one thing to drive into those things that are gonna be profitable, and that could be actually really good and a fast way to make a lot, more money and alleviate some of this budget pressure. But then we've got to also be keeping track of how that impacts our mission.
So the hard answer to that is, but it doesn't, because the money that we make goes into the revenue fund, which has nothing to do with this extra stuff. It can't take money that we make at the water mine and put it into maintenance. That's the big issue with the revenue fund. It's that huge mile-wide firewall between the two, which that we
County
can't,
thing,
it's the
right?
county thing, so we can't do that. So we can make more money to make more money. We can make more money that goes into golf and rec centers, and that's a really good point. I'm not saying that we don't have stuff that's in the revenue fund that needs more money.
Yeah.
Rec centers need more money that goes,
That's a whole
so
other-
I'm not saying that part, but a lot of this, that revenue fund to solve the general fund is actually, and we can talk about this, is a little bit of how we got into this situation that when we had these budget cuts in the past, the reason why we're so revenue fund heavy and why we're in such our fees are so high is when we had these exercises every time in the past, none of these were on there. The answer 100% was move stuff from the general fund into the revenue fund. So that's how we did this exercise. We took $1.8 million, and for staff that even touched a little bit in the revenue fund, we moved them over to the revenue fund and said, we're gonna increase stuff in order to make more money to pay for that. So that's how we got this imbalance, which is kind of where that's not easy because now we have to raise fees. But that's the big difference between now and every other time that this exercise happened.
So it
And
seems
that's,
like you need a bifurcated solution, right? You need, maybe that exercise makes sense for things that you can actually use that money towards the maintenance. But then you need a solution for those things where you can't. Maybe that's where your corporate sponsorships or other things.
Yep.
it's a very, and I think we should have like a I don't know what we would call it, a workshop or something to talk about that. We'll talk about all of those things because it's circular. We're just talking about it today in CIP, right? To make money, we got to build stuff. There's nothing up. My staff are great. I mean, I'm not saying that. Our staff are great. They're really, Josh, they know how to make money with what they have. There's an open room. There's not an open room in the summer that doesn't have a camp in it. So in order to make more money, we need more stuff. We need more buildings. We need more stuff. So to do that, we're now taking CIP dollars to build more stuff. And then, but we have 422 parks. So how do we now do the deferred maintenance that we're talking about? Or are we focusing on building more stuff to make? It's a huge squeezing the thing and trying to figure out what the bang for the buck is. And that's one of the things we're trying to do with the equity study is we're trying to break that model so we're not so reliant on fees and charges. So maybe it's not, everything isn't in that sacrosanct revenue fund. Maybe we have a special revenue fund or something that can go both ways in general to be able to fund those things and try to like not have it the way it is right now. Because the way it is right now, it doesn't make any sense and it puts us in the hole that we're in right now.
You bring up an important point, which is building more stuff that we can't maintain. So that seems like an important part of that conversation as well.
So if there are no further comment, is there consensus to move this forward to the board?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yes, okay.
Anybody wants to know that one? No, or like not me.
Okay, action item number 2, which hopefully will be faster, the budget requests. So this is updated from the last time, well, the last 2 times you saw it. So zero waste is the same, those are the positions for zero waste. OBI funding is a mix of positions and operating dollars and capital for those new parks. What we did calculate since the last meeting is the contract increase. So that's $725,000 for the contract increase. So in total, we have a 3.2 million in requests for FY27.
Just as a reminder, the zero waste was a mandated service, and we're following on several previous requests in that process.
So before I open it to questions, would you just, there have been some comments that say, well, you're asking for this additional money. Can't we not ask for this money and use that to fund the reduction? So would you please?
Yeah, so the reductions are required, right? We have to put forward reductions, bottom line. At the same time, we have 3 buckets of categories that we are able to make requests for. And so rather than have to put forward the reductions and not look at every other opportunity that we need to try to take advantage of, we're doing both. In one case, it's a mandated requirement that we do this, so that's got to be on the list. The next item here of OBI funding, these are new facilities, many of which have been proffered to us or given to us with no funding associated with operating them. So we've got to put that forward in order to not continue the problems that we've been talking about in several meetings. And then lastly, I was just gonna say the contract rate increases. These are real increases that we've experienced over the years, again, without funding coming with them. So
This is your only slide on this.
it is.
Any questions or comments on this?
So not specifically on these, but something the Board of Supervisors has recently discussed that could potentially impact what we do request. I understand 2 supervisors, Chairman McKay and Supervisor Bierman in particular, raised some questions about the carryover package in 5 positions of ours. In a package that included 60 positions overall, they decided to signal out 5 of ours. And those 5 positions were related to the equity request that Chairman McKay asked us to, and the Board of Supervisors in general asked us to make. And you can't hardly go to a meeting without Jeff talking about One Fairfax. So I'm a little confused why they got brought up to begin with, why were kind of those positions singled out. And what's the latest, and maybe for people who are not paying attention to Board of Supervisors carryover discussions, can you talk about what those 5 positions were?
Yeah, so carryover, there was a budget committee meeting, Board of Supervisors last week related to the carryover package, which will be voted on next Tuesday. We have not yet come and presented the carryover requests to you all. We typically do that after the approval. We've referenced a few of them. The zero waste one, for example, has capital equipment in it. I think last Tuesday, the 5 positions that we had as part of our carryover request tied to the equity implementation plan. You all probably remember from back in January, we came and presented kind of a 5-year strategy for the equity implementation plan. We're at the very beginning phases of positions dedicated to building the systems that we need. So the positions that we put forward in the carryover request for IT-oriented positions, financial positions, data positions to kind of build the structure to start to move forward on the equity implementation plan. I think there was some general misunderstanding or confusion around what the positions were that we were requesting in that package. I think we're hopeful that that's being cleared up now. The official vote on the package is next Tuesday. And so we're hopeful that we will still have those positions moving forward. We are planning to come and brief you all at our next meeting, October 8th, I think, which will be a week or so after the official approval of carryover, and we'll go through every item on the carryover request list and what the ultimate funding was. But that's kind of where we're at today.
I know the cut list asked that we have to endorse that today, however reluctantly, to get it to meet kind of DMV's internal timelines. Do we have to submit the request today?
So I believe it's due tomorrow or the
Okay.
next
It's
day.
due on Friday, yeah.
So the answer is yes.
But we could ask to turn it in after carryover is approved, and if we wanted to put those 5 positions here as
That's
opposed
what I'm
to,
driving at.
yes.
I think that when we send, correct me if I'm wrong, and let me just sort of reiterate what Josh says. We're hoping we've been spending a lot of time the last few days trying to clear up any confusion as to what the positions are. If you listen to Chairman McKay's comments, he talked a lot about income verification. That's not where we are right now. If you remember, this is going to take a very long time, and right now we're focused on building the house. So we're breaking a very long model of one-stop shop, pay one time. We have a new system coming in. We have to figure out how we're gonna create the sliding fees. There's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. So these are the background positions, IT, finance, admin, the people who are gonna be working on that to make it sort of run. The income verification is after the house is built, later down the road, year 2, year 3, and we're gonna be working heavily with NCS, who already has an income verification for SAC. to do that. No matter what happens, it's gonna be a bigger thing. You know, SAC is great. SAC does a lot for income verification. I believe they have 6,000, what's the number? I have it written down. Something like 6,000,
9,000,
9,000
9,000.
total users, and I think it's like 1,600 of them need an income verification. Whereas we have about 75,000 households, unique households, and if we follow the same percentages as SAC, we're talking about, you know, in the 30s, 20s, 30,000 people. So no matter what or who does it, we are talking about a significant endeavor that the entire county is gonna have to go. NCS understands that. So we're gonna have to figure out what that model looks like. But again, that's 1 to 2 years down the road once we built the house. When it comes to the budget requests and cuts, I believe, and Katie, correct me if I'm wrong, when we submitted the memo, we did submit it with the caveat of a sentence that said pending board approval, because the deadline was technically a week ago. So we said, we're gonna submit this stuff pending board approval, our board approval, because if you all came in and wanted to change stuff around, I needed to tell them that we're switching it. So we can do one of two things. We can go back and we can say after this, we could say, hey, do not consider our requests official until after the carryover vote, because we would like to hold the privilege of being able to put in for the 5 positions if in fact you remove them from the carryover. Is that what you were getting at?
Yeah, I don't know how anyone else thinks about it, but that'd be my preference. I don't want to lose the opportunity to make the ask.
Any other comment on that? Yes, Rick?
Different thing, Josh and Katie, on the OBI funding, that 1.293 million is for 5 new properties that the park authority is taking.
5
If I
locations.
remember, wasn't there like a list of like 17 or something like that would be taken over?
We did shrink that down of the full list of all the properties that
So the
we,
park authority is eating the cost of operating 12 new facilities. You're only asking for funding of these 5.
We're compromising because the fact that we have not gotten OBI funding. Yes.
So
For the last
but
30 years, yes.
I would like, I'd like that list again of the 17 properties if I could get it, because
Yeah, we can,
we all have supervisors and they
Yeah.
need to know that we're eating 12.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be a very significant portion for those of you who are gonna be joining us for the budget conversations. We're gonna break that down per area for those of you who have parks that come in. And then the fact that we haven't gotten it for a few years, it becomes cumulative. So these ones are the ones that I can't eat them because they're staff for a newly Stewardship Education Center. It's contract dollars for parks that we were given by the BOS. And it's, you know, large parks like the Overlook Park that we're waiting on opening that we need staff in the thing. So I can't not. So we're somewhat compromising and saying, this is a big number. If we get this number next year, it'll just be the parks that we brought online this last calendar year. It won't be that many. We're not building a new. Mount Vernon was the project we did this year. It's all revenue fund positions. I can't think of any other brick and mortar buildings that require staff. It will be contract dollars, staffing. So it's not gonna be this high probably ever again until we do another big, but this is 3 years, please.
so so let me break our consensus into 2 parts. First part is there consensus that with Jay's or agreement with Jay's suggestion, not treat or to ask DMB not to treat our budget request submission as official until after we've had a chance to look at how the carryover is treated, or words to that effect. Is that captured? Is there consensus for that approach?
Yeah.
Yes, from my side. Okay. Second, is there consensus now to move forward with the budget requests to the board?
Yeah.
Again, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much, Josh.
I think there's just one more step.
Okay.
And this is just a reminder of where we are in the FY 27 budget timeline. Once we submit everything, we won't hear or know what we're getting, what's getting cut until February. So this is just a reminder of that timeline.
Thank you both. No further business, budget committee is adjourned.
Thank you, Tim, and we are in recess for 10-15 minutes. We are back in action. All the.
Yeah.
September 24th, 2025. Before we get kind of started in our official action, I do want to let everybody know some pretty sad news. A few days ago, she's a great colleague to work for when I was with Coke. Yeah, for a friendlier opponent, if you will, and really good public servant. Shame in my thoughts.
Yeah, she was not only a supervisor House, chief of staff, but she was also Ms. Marks. And she was a great advocate, not only for the purpose in the Dranesville district, but for FCPA and Parks Countywide. Very much a champion and helped Supervisor House to push for budget improvements for the park authority, et cetera. So happy hopping, I will say, but for the good of the county, the good of the district. So she will be. Thank you.
All right, Andy, do we have any speakers this evening?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, we have no speakers this evening.
Okay. We have two admin items. Very first is the board's recommended approval of the resolution to honor Avery Gunther, who has served the residents of Fairfax County. He served as club voting officer for 37 years. Second. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried and I have the proclamation. Whereas Avery Gunther has served the Fairfax County Park Code with distinction for more than 3 decades, sharing her passion for and expertise in the natural world and animal life with countless children, students, and visitors, serving in several different staff positions over 37 years as a naturalist with FCPA, the Riverbend Park and Greenwoods Nature Center. And whereas her ingenuity in building community appreciation and love for nature includes creating and leading engaging programs and camps for hundreds of children, young people and adults, stewarding the animal care volunteer program, training and managing a team of volunteers, and sharing her knowledge of fine art by teaching adult classes with different media on many different natural history topics. And whereas Avery has been a connector of animals, nature, and people by championing a live animal program and developing relationships with local exotic animal veterinarians so that she can provide routine professional care to coordinate vet visits, serving as the primary caretaker of the site's live northern copperhead snake, the region's only venomous snake, and encouraging outdoor exploration, art, and stories for Hidden Oak's youngest visitors by leading preschool programs. And whereas their distinguished service is aligned with the gold standard of what it means to be a public servant. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Fairfax County Park Authority that expresses appreciation and thanks to Avery Gunther for her outstanding contributions to the Fairfax County Park Authority and residents of Fairfax County, adopted by the Fairfax County Park Authority Board on Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. Okay,
Yeah, I'm sorry, we better back off with that.
And then shortly after this, I want to ask if you all can join for another photo. Thank you. Well, yeah, we can just
Do I just come up and out quickly?
go on.
My work.
Yes.
Everybody.
Picture ball.
They came
Came all this way.
Came all this way in the night.
This picture be, get one?
Yes, I'll be happy to send. All right, yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
say a few things.
You say as many things as you want.
I'll keep it really short, but thank you for this honor. I've seen a lot of changes in the Park Authority in the last 37 years. But the mission at the nature centers where I've worked have pretty much stayed the same. Protecting natural resources, educating the public about natural history, and teaching natural history programs. That has been pretty much the same, which is good. I've met a lot of amazing people over the last 37 years, fellow staff, volunteers, and program participants. And I was lucky enough to do, well, working outdoors. So I was lucky enough to do, work at the nature center and do outdoor programs and field studies and surveys, caring for the sites, exhibit animals both at Riverbend and Hidden Oaks. And I taught programs to all ages, from moms with babies to senior citizens, and loved every minute of it. And I'm proud to have worked for the Park Authority and hope I have made a difference in the lives of our visitors and the quality of our parks. Thank you.
Yeah. Congratulations again. All right, admin 2 is the recommended adoption of the minutes of the September 10th, 2025 Park Authority Board meeting. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 3 action items tonight. Sully District, action item number 1 is the recommended approval of the Madison Brook Volunteer Matching Fund Grant Program request from Chantilly Youth Education. Do I have a motion? Yep. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carries. Action 2 is the recommended approval of required FY 2027 non-recommended park general operations capital fund budget reduction submission.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on this? Good.
I just want to say, for the record, the people else just stress the point that I know no one in the Park Authority or on the Park Authority board supports any of these cuts at all. We are advocates for cuts that we could come up with that we felt like they were the least, but we still feel like they're going to cause pain. But anybody that's testified or written a letter for not making cuts, we couldn't agree with it.
Yep, absolutely. No part of this. Thank you. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Action 3 is the recommended approval of required FY 2027 park general. We have to do something before this meeting.
No, I think you're good.
Okay. Just
Subject to the discussion
from
non-material amendments, right?
countywide action item number 3 is the recommended approval to require FY 2027 park general operation capital fund budget submission.
I'll move with the understanding of maybe under one.
Right, and do we have any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. 3 info items tonight. Information 1 is the 2026 needs assessment project updates. Info 2 is the FY 2027 non-recommended park general operation capital budget reductions. And info 3 is the FY 2027 non-recommended park general operations and capital fund budget reductions. All these are presented to and reviewed by the Park Authority Board on September 10th. Chairman's matters. First, we had a great Ellie Doyle Awards on the 13th. Yes, I think staff reserves around here. Changes to the format was great. Whatever idea that was. The press has lots of parents, so lots of people should take credit for that, but it really worked well. Much quicker process, but do not feel rushed. So we struck a really good balance there. And I think I heard that thing. A number of attendees and board members. So thank you to the staff and foundation for your work on that. Thank you to Cynthia and Tim for your leadership and that's those who are able to make it there. and thank the volunteers who obviously show my appreciation one last time to the folks. We have lots of great volunteers all year round. The ones we got to recognize for some of the very best. So thank you all. And then the one big thing tonight, which I've circulated in email and it's all in front of you right now, is a letter that I would suggest or perhaps ask endorsements that we send to the board of supervisors, kind of whether it's formally attached to the board of the commission or me sending it as a follow-on. I'm not sure how that can work. It's good on the staff can't advocate, so I don't know if they're able to attach this to their package or I have to send it separately. But whatever the case may be, I would ask that the board endorse the letter in front of them, so I can send it on behalf of all of us. Each of the board members. Any discussion on the letter or that idea or anything else related to it?
Great letter. I'd like to make a motion that we endorse.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries, and I don't have anything else.
Great. As Kyle mentioned, we had a wonderful Ellie Doyle. I want to reiterate everything that he said about the staff, the committee members, Dr. Carter and Tim, Allison, and all of the rest of the we put it together. I agree. It was wonderfully done. Just the right mix of not too long, not too short. Able to fit into Laurel Hill in general. Food was great. The company was great. I think it was fantastic. Also, thanking all of the volunteers, you know, as I always say, showing up for your community. I said it there. Those of you who couldn't attend Ellie Doyle's, I will reiterate it here. We really do appreciate and value all of our volunteers who give up their time in order to make our park system what it is today. That includes all of you here. I like to reiterate all the time that our board is full of volunteers. And so not just them, but all of you, I thank you for everything that you guys have done. And so does all of the staff. It was wonderful. Okay, we had the Dunloring Park 50th anniversary. Amy represented us very well at the Dunloring Park where they celebrated their 50th anniversary. You might recognize the young gentleman in the right picture who showed up to help Amy out talking about Dunloring. It was a really great attended event. Amy, did you want to add anything or?
It was a fantastic event and I was there as well. And Ken was really deeply involved and he was very happy with the turnout. So, great.
Okay. This scoops of gratitude. We're still working our way through all of our 40 sites. We've got 5 of 6 days that are complete. We've logged about 22 hours on the road with 150 plus miles traveled to deliver ice cream to all of our sites. I believe there's 4 or 5 sites left and they're going to be done, I believe, next week. Again, it's really great visiting with all the staff, talking to them, seeing what their needs, seeing how much fun they have at work, seeing all the great things that they do, and just spending a lot of time talking to them out in the field. Okay. We had the Oak Hill Open House Saturday, September the 2nd. It was I think it was a record-breaking turnout, more turnout. There's a record-breaking turnout in general. Were you there? Who was there? Any specifics that you want to? I'm just putting everybody up. Because I wasn't there. Record-breking turnout.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you got it. It's fine. Don't be shy.
Sally Kidloff and I estimate 350 and 400 people showed up, which was the biggest turnout they've seen since COVID. So that's pretty remarkable, especially considering that this was quote unquote a small event this year. Every other year they do a big event with a panel and such. So yeah, good turnout.
So thank you, Brittany.
Did we advertise that film?
It was advertised on our typical communication channels, so just a really invested community.
Okay.
Oh, we had the 4th annual Bug Fest at Lake Atkinson Park. Families, enthusiasts, and curious minds. Is that a video?
It is.
Okay, go ahead.
Adults.
Go down the bench. Last week, we were, a group of us on the top right, were, lucky enough to head out to Orlando for the National, Recreation and Park Association meeting. We had, speakers, we had, three, four. I did 2 talks and then, we had a maintenance talk, got really rave reviews about that. Karen and William and Kim did, talking about how they maintain a gold medal system with pennies. What was the title? I always get it wrong.
Gold medal maintenance on a tight budget.
Gold medal maintenance on a tight budget. Very well received. We also had data. Katie, what was the title of yours? Everybody's getting involved today. She's not here. I remember the data one.
We have data now.
We have data now what? So those 2 talks, and I did 2, a talk on interviewing and one on managing up, around, and sideways. Great item, really great to really be able to hang out and with one another. You see the picture on the bottom right. We got HR with planning, with park maintenance. It was just a really great time had by all. Conference really does fill your cup. You learn all about all things park and rec, surrounded by other people with the same ethos. It's about I think we had about almost 9,000 people there. It's a very large conference, and so it's in Philly next year. Next slide. Next slide. We also had yesterday the rec center open houses, and so open house was yesterday at all of our rec centers. Those are some of the numbers, although I think that they're probably a lot lower than they actually were. I was at Oakmont. You'll see that in a second. Just some of the activities, special activities that we had at some of the locations, the phone. Where's the phone, Kamisha? Where?
Cub Run.
Cub Run. Foam at Cub Run. I was at Oakmont. I know Kamisha, I think we missed each other by a second because they said that you were just there. Next slide. Really an opportunity to see all, oh, look, there's a common theme in the middle. His name might be Josiah, and he might be our most important staff member that we have.
The newest one.
Huh? Definitely the newest one, but he might be the most recognizable as well. Next slide. These are some of the, that's it. Can you play the video? That's a video of Oakmont was absolutely, is it in the bottom? No, you can't. Yeah, that was good, yeah. So Oakmont snow cones, there's a popcorn machine in the back. Scavenger hunt, pickle learning about, there was some other tables that were for other stuff. It was really, you know, a great time. People coming in for free, check out our rec centers, and, you know, we really are a great bang for your buck. And I think that's it, right? Oh, sorry, upcoming events. So on Friday, we are ribbon cutting for Strawberry Park, which is in Merrifield Park. It's over at Mosaic. And Fall Festival preview, that's at 5 o'clock on Friday. On Saturday is National Public Lands Day. There's 10 volunteer events. You'll see that breakdown on the next slide. On Thursday the 2nd, we're gonna be having a half-day session with all of the Board of Supervisors staffers to really go through a lot of the stuff that for you new people on the board that we went through with you all, a little bit of an orientation, how our CIP works, how our budget works, things are happening across the county. In addition to that, and it's a good segue because you just saw it today with the individual the quarter that Kim presented of all the projects. So they're all separated out by district. The goal is after this, every time we have those, we're gonna also send them along to the staffers. They also see all the stuff that has happened in their district, but not just what's happened in their district, what's happened all across the county. Because I think sometimes we get a little bit siloed into not realizing that there's, you know, a whole bunch of other stuff that we're working on as well. On Saturday, the 4th, October 4th is Parktoberfest at LRC Lawrence at 12 o'clock. Thursday on the 9th, we have the Trailblazers Awards. Trailblazers Awards are done by staff for staff. And so I have nothing to do with that. Me, Sarah, and Amy have nothing to do with that except for to pay for the food and serve the food and then just check to make sure that the people who want to work, everything's kosher. So it's a really awesome time. There's a theme. This theme is the 50s because we're celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Park Authority. There's fun, there's games, there's food, there's everything. If you would like to come, please let us know and come on in. We serve the senior leadership team, the division directors serve food. And so it's for them, by them, and we're just serve them. So if you want to come, put on some plastic gloves and serve our wonderful staff some barbecue, please let us know and please come on through. And then lastly, we have on the 13th, we have a public meeting for Solona Park, the Drainsville District at 7:30 in person. And then we want to remind everybody that our farmers markets are still open in each district. And then the next slide is the breakdown for the volunteer events happening on National Public Lands Day. And we'll send this out so you know. Please, you know, put it out on your social or encourage people to come to that.
And we've already sent out communication for National Public Lands Day. So thank you to everyone who's replied and will participate with us on Saturday.
Today.
Good. Thank you to staff for helping us out with my other job, which is the Board of Governors for the rest of the community center. So thank you. Because we did get our reaccreditation for Capra this year, and we are having our RCC on wheels delivered. So it's not a copycat organization, but we do okay. But thanks to all the folks that helped with that.
Good idea.
Led by Sarah.
Yep.
Woods.
Well,
Dr. Carter.
oh my. I have to say, everyone did such a stellar job, an exceptional job. And thank you, staff. Thank you, everyone, for all that you did. Allison, please give them a big hand. Board members. So thank you for your input and thank you for just being you. Appreciate you.
All right, we're done. See you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're getting our RCC. Is that right? So you know we have a full-time